Hi, I'm Jim Cheshire, and in this screencast I'm going to show you how you can use Glimpse to troubleshoot your websites in Windows Azure Websites. So this is an MVC application, and in this particular application I've got a problem where it takes my page maybe 6-7 seconds or so to come up here, and it takes about this long almost every time, so it's something that I'm interested in tracking down, and I can do that using Glimpse. Now you can get Glimpse from NuGet, which is off the Tools menu in Visual Studio. You simply go to Library Package Manager. You can use the console and get it from the command line, or you can just use the Manage NuGet Packages for solution and use this really nice user interface. It's available in here in Visual Studio. And I'm going to search for Glimpse MVC4. And there are a couple of things that I need in order to use Glimpse in my application. First, I need Glimpse Core, which I'll install. And then since this is an MVC4 application, I also want to get the Glimpse MVC4 package and install that. Obviously, if you were using an MVC3 app, you would use Glimpse MVC3, or there's also one for ASP.NET in and of itself, and there are actually several other Glimpse packages as well, so feel free to explore those. So let's install this Glimpse MVC4 package. I'll accept that. So now that that's installed, let's have a look and see what we get right off the bat. Once again, here is my MVC app and my delay. So the first thing I want to do is browse to the Glimpse handler, which is glimpse.axd, off the root of your site. And then I will click on Turn Glimpse On. Okay, and you will notice that it looks like nothing happened. However, if we go back now to the page where we're having this problem, you'll see that I now have a little icon here in the lower right corner. That's the Glimpse icon, and if I click that, I get this dialog, which gives me some pretty good information about what happened during the request that we just ran here. I'm on the Timeline tab right now, which you can see right here, and you'll notice that we can see a delay here in the invoke action method for my home controller, and it's the index action that appears to be causing my delay. So right off the bat I already know where within the pipeline, which event in the pipeline is causing my delay. If I go down here and hover over this, I can actually see that that was a delay of somewhere in the vicinity of 7 seconds. So that's great, but if we go and look at that method in our application, let's just open up our controllers here and go to my home controller. Notice in my index action I've got several different things going on here. I'm calling into a data layer, I'm calling a method on that. So it might be nice for me to get a little more detail that will show me at a more granular level where my delay is. And you can do that by using ASP.NET tracing, which will then inject itself into your Glimpse output. So let's have a look and see what that'll do. So I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to add some trace output when I call the constructor for this data layer class, and then I'm going to add another trace line before I call the populate contacts method, because I'm trying to find out, is my delay actually in that call to populate contacts, or is it actually in the constructor? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a using statement here just to avoid some of the typing. And you can use any of the trace methods that you'd like. I'm going to use trace information, and I'm going to say creating data layer, and then I'll write another event here, So this will give me some pretty good information within my glimpse output so that I can get a better idea of exactly where my delay is here. Whoops. Having a little typing issues here. All right. Now the next thing that I need to do, I'm going to save that, is I need to go into my web.config file and I need to turn on tracing. And I'm just going to do that by adding trace enabled equals true, and I'm also going to use the write to diagnostics trace and set that to true. You can get these snippets of code, by the way, from the blog post that associates this screencast. So let's save that. And now let's browse back here. And once again, we still have the same delay going on. Alright, so this output looks the same, but let's flip over here to the Trace tab. And here I get the information that I logged through my trace information calls. So I can tell here that my delay is very definitely inside of the populate contacts method. And you can add as much instrumentation as you need to get down to the place where your problem is occurring, and then display that inside of your glimpse frame here. Now, one thing to note is that this information that you're looking at in glimpse, this is strictly JavaScript generated HTML, so this doesn't require any kind of a plugin into the browser or anything like that. And it's also something that you can use on your Windows Azure site. So there may be a situation where this code runs perfectly fine on this machine, but as soon as I publish it out to Azure, I'm noticing that I'm seeing a delay in my site, and I want to track that down. So let me show you how you can do that once we publish this out to Windows Azure. Let's go ahead and close this. And I've actually got a publish profile for a website out on Azure that I created earlier. This is just an empty website right now that I created, and then I downloaded the publish profile from this link that's on the portal in Azure. And what I'm going to do is just publish this site to that website in Windows Azure Websites. Now I've got the Azure SDK installed in Visual Studio. So when I right click on that and I choose publish, I get this nice dialog here where I can import my publish profile. So here's my publish profile. I'm going to select that. And I'll click next. And actually I'm just going to go ahead and publish. I don't have to change any of the settings or anything. I just want to push this out. And I'm going to show you what you may have experienced if you tried to do this yourself. And that is that you don't get a glimpse icon. And the reason for that is because glimpse is currently running under a local policy restriction, so that you can only see the output from glimpse if it's running locally. So let's fix that. We'll go back into our web.config file, and we'll go all the way down to the bottom here where we have this glimpse section. And I'm going to add some code to this section. And this code will turn off the local policy for glimpse. This code is in the blog post that is associated with this screencast, but you can also get it from the glimpse website. Alright, so let's save that. And now I'm going to publish that changed configuration file back out to my site in Windows Azure. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse back to the glimpse.axd handler and turn glimpse on here. And then I will reproduce my delay again. Now once again, this is running on Windows Azure. This is not running locally. If I open this up, you'll see this is actually on my Windows Azure website. And here's my glimpse icon, and I can click this, and now I can get information on the delay that's happening actually in Azure. Here is my information here, and I can see that I have that same delay that we saw before. So I encourage you to check out Glimpse. Give it a shot for troubleshooting some of the problems that you might be encountering in your applications. It's a really great way to add instrumentation to your website and then be able to analyze that information in a very nice interface and get some very helpful information about what's happening in your application. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.